Good morning and welcome. It is 9 o'clock. It is the 23rd day of October 2021. It is a gloomy October morning with some light rain here in Ventura and the possibility of heavy rains because of the atmospheric river. So grab your flying canoes and jump aboard the atmospheric river because I am your number one guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, controversy, and speculation, the OGGM. And in case you forgot the other stories that were going on in the tabletop role-playing game news this week, there was the whole Paizo workers going on strike and attempting to unionize. There were multiple complaints made by the staff of Paizo Publishing regarding workplace conditions, pay, hours worked, unsafe, harassment, verbal abuse, poor management decisions, and apparently something to do with a really disgusting carpet. I'm still not sure about that one, but apparently one of the complaints was the carpet at Paizo was like super, super, super gross. Not just like I forgot to vacuum it over a month gross, but like dirty tenement that no one's been in for 30 years gross. So gross that apparently there was one issue that an individual said he had to get an inhaler and wear a mask because the carpet was that gross. Really, how far do you have to go to make a carpet that gross at a place of work? Anyways, they unionized and went on strike. And Paizo Publishing powers that be responded by saying, hey, there's going to be a delay in our stuff because of this strike. Well, apparently, as of yesterday at 1:14, Paizo has recognized the union. There was some conjunction about whether Paizo would voluntarily recognize the United Paizo Workers Union or if they would just hire scabs. But they are currently recognizing the union and addressing its complaints, which means they will have to get a union rep and start dealing with the various machinations of the union governing board that is in their states. So Paizo's United Workers consists of about 30 people, but there's also about 40 or so external freelancers who associate in one way or another with Paizo. Under the union guidelines, they could be considered scabs or work for hire, and being unionized means that Paizo might decide not to use the freelancers because using the freelancers might consist of violating whatever the terms of the union is. And just to make things clear, depending upon what state this is taking place in, they can say they're a union and Paizo can say they recognize them as the union, but it's not that easy. There are still layers of government that have to be addressed, including the Board of Regulations and stuff like that. So it's not just simply waving a magic wand and saying, we're now a union and we need to do blank. Tons of paperwork will be involved. There will need to be representatives on both sides to hammer out the union deal, pay rate, hours, what considers falling within the provinces of the union contract, and then will the state recognize the union, and then will the, entire country, the United States government, but the board of regulations, weight measures, the people who are in charge of things like making sure you're getting paid a fair wage, making sure you're safe at your business, making sure your organization is up to all OSHA standards. There's a lot of stuff in a lot of ways both sides can violate the contract union. So even though Paizo has just chosen to recognize the union as a temporary stopgap so they can get back to production, it's still another step because the county/state that Paizo is currently residing in needs to recognize the union, the Board of Regulations in that state. And then, of course, the United States government, the Board of Regulations and taxes and stuff like that also need to recognize that union. And it might fall under the jurification of a larger union, or it might become a union unto its own. How will this affect the freelancers, and how will this affect other publishing companies that might have to deal with this going on, like Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast? Well, I think Hasbro already is probably unionized. If it's not, that would be weird. I don't know if Seattle is a right to work or union state. I should probably look that up, but I don't think you care. If you do, let me know and we'll look into it. But smaller companies like, I don't know, Evil Hat Games or Deadly Bagel Games. Is there a Deadly Bagel Games? If not, there should be. How's this going to affect them? If you're a production company making games and you got like 10 people working for you and a couple freelancers, those 10 people might go, hey, do we fall under the Paizo union? And again, how is this going to affect work for hire freelancers? Because technically, under the terms of a union, work for hire freelancers might be considered scabs. Case in point, what recently happened out on the shooting of Alec Baldwin's new movie, Rust. If you're following that story, apparently all the union workers walked off. The Rust producers hired a bunch of scabs. A unsafe gun prop was left. Alec Baldwin was using the unsafe gun prop during a scene, and because there was no union-recognized safety representative on the site, the gun had not been properly checked, and the prop gun went off, wounding one and killing another. So that is being said because A, the site was just not being monitored for safety. There had been several complaints about the site, and when the union said, hey, our workers are not going to keep working here if you don't address these safety issues, the producers told them to go away and hired scabs. And because of those scabs, one individual was wounded and another was killed. Alex Baldwin's career is probably completely ruined because a prop gun was not handled correctly and not tested correctly, and the blank somehow managed to kill somebody. You're going, well, how can a prop gun kill somebody? But this has happened before. This happened, of course, on the set of The Crow. That's how Brandon Lee died, from prop guns. So, yeah. Once a union gets involved, bad or good, there's certain things you have to consider. For everybody who considers a union a good thing, there's an equal amount of people that consider the union a bad thing. If a union does what it's supposed to do, it is a good thing, like keep workers safe. And perhaps had the union been on site and a union qualified safety inspector been on site, that individual would not have lost their life. Anyways, we do not know how this is going to affect the future of the gaming industry, but it's definitely a story to watch. As of this moment, Paizo has recognized the United Paizo Workers Union, but still there are steps to go. Also, they might want to change their flag. The goblin hand holding the hammer behind the star here looks a little, socialist kind of. This looks like the hammer and sickle from Russia. Yeah, they might want to change that symbol here. Yeah, this thing right here. Yeah, that they might want to change that. Anyways, that's the news. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you want to go deeper into this and look into which other gaming companies are and are not unionized and how unions work, let me know, and we will definitely do that. If you don't, I never have to talk about this ever again if you don't want to. Until next time, remember to subscribe and support me through the various ways you can support me, and stay warm because it's a gloomy one today. I will talk to you later. Get off my land.